So, Warner Brothers is building an entire town, yes, a full-blown town, for the upcoming Harry Potter TV series. And they're dropping over $1 billion to make it happen. We've got soundstages the size of airplane hangars, even a new Privet Drive with Tudor-style houses. In this video, we're digging into the wild scale of this project, the confirmed cast so far, what to expect from the series, and why HBO is betting huge on bringing Harry Potter back. Hit like, subscribe, and let's break it down. They're literally building a town for this show. Okay, so when you hear that Warner Brothers is rebooting Harry Potter as a TV series, you probably think, cool, another soundstage, maybe some CGI-heavy Hogwarts scenes, green screens, the usual TV setup, right? Yeah, no. Try a full-on billion-dollar town. According to multiple reports, including The Sun, Collider, and others, Warner Brothers is pumping £1 billion, which is around $1.27 billion, into a massive expansion of their Leavesden Studios site in Hertfordshire, just outside London. This isn't a few extra sound stages. This is a functioning production town, being custom-built from the ground up to house not just the show's sets, but the people, the animals, the equipment, literally everything this project is going to need for possibly the next decade. We're talking new roads, multi-story car parks, enormous soundstage hangars, facilities for cast, crew, animals, and staff, even a school for the child actors, and a medical center on site. And this isn't just rumor-level talk. One production source told The Sun straight up, what they'll have is a small metropolis, which will not only provide the backdrop for the show, but also all the facilities the huge cast and crew need. A small metropolis. That's not typical Hollywood language. We're in this for the long-haul energy. The studio knows they're not shooting one short series and calling it a day. They're setting up to film multiple seasons across multiple years, with a huge cast that includes dozens of kids, animals, and likely hundreds of crew working behind the scenes. It makes sense to centralize everything and build it to last. They've even built out animal housing and care facilities because, yeah, this is Harry Potter. So it's not just about actors. It's also about owls, cats, rats, snakes, horses, spiders, you name it. They'll all be part of the show, and now they've got their own infrastructure too. And it's important to note, Warner Brothers has clarified, no animals are housed overnight for this or any other production. So it's more like high-end daycare for magical creatures than any kind of permanent zoo. Bottom line, this isn't a reboot where they're cutting corners. This is Warner Brothers rebuilding the Harry Potter universe from scratch, brick by brick, with a physical space that's supposed to evolve with the series over the next 10 years. Privet Drive gets a makeover. So while they're busy building this billion-dollar filming town, you might be wondering, what are they doing with the sets themselves? Are they just reusing the same ones from the movies? Copy-pasting what worked before? Not even close. Let's start with Privet Drive, probably one of the least magical but most iconic locations from the original series. That boring suburban house where Harry grew up with the Dursleys? Yeah, it's getting a full redesign. According to The Sun, Collider, and other sources, Warner Brothers is constructing a new version of Privet Drive on site at the Leavesden complex. But this time around, they're giving it a mock Tudor-style architecture. So instead of the plain, drab look from the movies, we're getting something a little more stylized, maybe even upscale. The description, adjacent wasteland, is being transformed into a modernized Privet Drive, featuring Tudor-style architecture. And honestly, that kind of design choice could be a subtle clue about how the whole show is going to look. Not necessarily darker or edgier, but more detailed, more deliberate, maybe even more in line with contemporary storytelling and production design trends. Another reason for the upgrade? Continuity and control. Back in the original films, they shot Privet Drive scenes in a real neighborhood in Bracknell. It was a regular house they dressed up to look like the Dursleys' place. But this time, they're not messing with real estate agents or dealing with neighbors peeking through curtains. They're building everything in-house on a 200-acre studio lot that they now fully own. This gives them total creative and logistical freedom to redesign, reshoot, and reuse locations whenever they want. And let's be real. If this reboot is going to span 10 years or more, they can't be knocking on someone's door in Berkshire every time they want to shoot a flashback to Harry's cupboard. Building a controllable, permanent Privet Drive set is just smart planning. So what does this tell us? It tells us that Warner Brothers isn't just recreating the look of the original. They're reimagining it with a fresh visual identity. The bones of the story are still there, but the packaging is getting an upgrade. And with Privet Drive being one of the very first locations audiences will see in the new show, this updated look could set the tone for the entire reboot. A mix of familiar elements with a sharper, more stylized presentation. The new Golden Trio has been cast. All right, let's talk about the big one. The question everyone's been asking since the reboot was announced. Who's playing Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley? Well, here's the answer. They've already been cast. Yep, the new Golden Trio has been chosen. Warner Brothers and HBO have officially locked in the 3 young actors who are going to lead the series. And according to reports, they're all British, around 11 years old, and their identities are being kept under wraps just a little while longer. Why? Because filming starts this summer, and they want to unveil them as a proper launch event. But make no mistake, these kids are about to become household names overnight. A report from the Mirror says, 3 young British actors have had their lives changed forever by being cast in the Harry Potter TV series, but we don't know who they are just yet. And these kids aren't just taking on iconic roles. They're stepping into what could be career-defining territory. Back in the day, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint became global stars before they hit puberty. Now, these 3 new actors are walking into a world that's even more media-saturated and franchise-driven than it was 20 years ago. According to a finance expert quoted by Mail Online, they could end up out-earning the original trio by a long shot. There's absolutely no reason to suppose the new actors won't easily exceed the incomes of the 3 original stars. And that tracks. The franchise is more valuable now than it was in the early 2000s. There's streaming, merch, theme park tie-ins, game licensing. It's a monster. Fun fact, in the late 90s, the original casting call for Harry, Ron, and Hermione drew about 40,000 audition tapes. For the new series, they got 32,000. That's still a massive number. Just slightly down, probably because the reboot news was met with mixed reactions online. And while we still don't have names, what we do know is this. These 3 will need to carry the entire franchise for years. HBO isn't doing a 1-season experiment. This is a long-term retelling of all 7 books. We're going to watch these kids literally grow up in the wizarding world. Again. There's also been talk that Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy in the original films, might be involved behind the scenes in a mentoring or advisory role. Which honestly, could be a really smart move to help the new cast navigate the spotlight. One thing that probably won't happen? Cameos from the original trio. Given their public distance from J.K. Rowling in recent years, especially around the trans rights controversy, don't expect a Daniel Radcliffe walk-on moment. In fact, Daniel made it very clear back in 2020. Transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people. If these books taught you that love is the strongest force in the universe, then that is between you and the book that you read, and it is sacred. So yeah, this new trio will be starting fresh. No torch passing, no legacy cameos, just a full reboot with a new generation of young talent who are about to step into the biggest roles of their lives. Meet the adult cast. Big talent, big questions. While the kids are still under wraps for now, we do know who's playing the adult characters at Hogwarts, and the cast is full of surprises, controversy, and some pretty bold choices. Let's break it down. Confirmed cast: John Lithgow as Albus Dumbledore, Janet McTeer as Minerva McGonagall, Papa Esidu as Severus Snape, Nick Frost as Rubeus Hagrid, Paul Whitehouse as Argus Filch, Luke Thallin as Quirinus Quirrell. That's the confirmed list as of now. 6 names, all established actors, all bringing different energy to the series. Lithgow, best known for Third Rock from the Sun and The Crown, admitted he was surprised to be offered the role of Dumbledore and called it a defining part of the last chapter of his life. Papa Essiedu, who made waves in I May Destroy You, is playing Snape. He's one of the most talked about casting choices so far, and when he confirmed the news, he said on Instagram, "An honor and a privilege to be going on this journey with these legends. We shall eat and we shall leave no crumbs. See you at Hogwarts, Professor Snape X." Katie Leung, who played Cho Chang in the original films, commented, "There's no one better." Nick Frost, a comedic actor from Hot Fuzz, is stepping into Hagrid's giant boots, a move that raised eyebrows but also curiosity. He's also starring in an upcoming comedy with a trans lead, which sparked mixed reactions given Rowling's role in the show. That brings us to the elephant in the room. J.K. Rowling is still involved. She's an executive producer, which for many fans, and some in the industry, has created serious tension. Paapa Essiedu recently signed an open letter in support of trans rights, which read, "We believe passionately in the ability of the screen to change hearts and minds. This is our opportunity to be on the right side of history." But that same week, people were calling him out for joining a Rowling-backed project. Articles described the move as a double standard, pointing out the contradiction between his public advocacy and taking a role that indirectly supports someone who's actively involved in anti-trans campaigns. The criticism extended to Lithgow, McTeer, and Frost, too. McTeer, for example, has spoken in past interviews about fluid gender identity and representation. Now she's starring in a series that will directly boost Rowling's public platform. Meanwhile, Rowling herself is not exactly backing down. When trans activists announced plans to boycott the show, she responded on X, "Dreadful news, which I feel duty-bound to share. Activists in my mentions are trying to organize yet another boycott of my work. I've taken the precaution of laying in a large stock of champagne." So, yeah, the cast is great, but the politics surrounding this show are very complicated, and that tension is probably going to follow the project for its entire run. Still, showrunners Francesca Gardner and director Mark Mylod have said they're excited about the talent they've assembled. Their statement reads, "We're delighted to have such extraordinary talent on board. We can't wait to see them bring these beloved characters to new life." Whether you're thrilled or skeptical, there's no denying the casting so far is aiming to shake things up. American actors, diverse casting, and a completely new energy. They're not trying to recreate the films. They're aiming for something different, something bigger, something that'll hold attention for a whole new generation. Why HBO is betting big on Harry Potter. Here's what makes all of this even more interesting. Warner Brothers and HBO aren't treating this like a spin-off. This is a full retelling of the books, with a modern twist and room to go deeper than the films ever could. The original movies were massive, but even across 8 of them, a ton of stuff from the books got left out. Now they've got multiple seasons to flesh everything out. Side characters, subplots, themes that got rushed or skipped entirely. And with HBO behind the wheel, yeah, the same folks who gave us Game of Thrones and The Last of Us, you can expect the production values to be high and the tone may be a bit more grounded and character-driven. They're not just banking on nostalgia. They're building this as a franchise reset. Long-term, multiple decades, massive infrastructure. Quote from one source, "They see pumping a huge amount of cash in upfront to construct this infrastructure as a worthwhile investment which they'll eventually get a return on. That's not casual. That's commitment." Final thoughts. So yeah, the Harry Potter reboot isn't just a TV series. It's a billion-dollar rebuild of the entire franchise from the ground up. A new cast, a new look, a new Privet Drive, a literal town being constructed to house the whole thing. And we're just now starting to see how big this vision really is. Still a lot we don't know, like who the new trio will be. But one thing's clear, HBO isn't messing around. Let me know in the comments. Are you excited about this, or are you more leave it alone? And who do you think should play Harry? If you want updates on this production as it moves forward, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll keep you posted as the story develops.